do, 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 do.
Hey everybody, welcome to Empower Hour. This is our hour where we bring you inspiration, empowerment, and a little practical magic for your life and for work. I am Christine Mortensen, a business coach, and bringing my experience to you so that you can take some neuroscience and I'm forgetting all the things I do. Neuroscience and business strategy and mindset development and apply it to your career and business. And this is my partner, Molly.
Hey everyone, how are you? It's so good to see you. I think that we have all of our bugs officially debugged. It went smooth as silk today, so I'm really excited about that. So if you were here last week, you know a little bit about what we're going to do. But and if you weren't, welcome. And this is super low key, as you can tell, not formal. We want you to be comfortable, and we're just glad you're here.
Yes, and Molly's specialty is being a life coach. So
Oh,
she's
pardon.
that's okay. Yeah, tell the folks about yourself.
Well, sure, yeah. So essentially, I've got a background that includes all sorts of different things, and nonprofits and media and whatnot. But it always came down to helping people tell their story, owning their story, and charting their own course. And so that's really my perspective when it comes to life coaching, is that you want to make sure that you are identifying who you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. And I'm just there to basically be that training wheels and that sounding board and to help you move forward, which is one of the reasons why I think Christine and I work so well together, because Christine's got the business end of it that's really locked down, and I really explore more of personal aspects of identity and all sorts of things that people have that keep them moving forward. And so that's where the future you comes from. We really have a kind of a complement thing going.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like peanut butter and jelly.
peanut butter and jelly. Yeah. Some weeks
I
I'm
might
peanut
also
butter and some weeks you're jelly, and then we switch and I'm jelly and you're peanut butter, and it always works out.
hopefully none of you have a peanut allergy.
Yeah,
So
there you go. Yeah, almond butter also works. So
oh, there you go.
yeah, I like almond butter
Excellent.
too.
Now that we're live, I'm gonna try to get the chat open.
Excellent.
Uh, so pardon me for one moment while
No
I
problemo. Would you
do
like me to
that.
sing?
Oh my.
No, you don't want me to
Can
sing.
you?
Well, I that was one of the things we talked about last week. For those of you who were here last week, we talked about mindset and how to shift mindset. And one of the things that I talked about was when I was a single mom, when my kids were little, I would shift up my mindset. If I was, getting frustrated or angry, I would shift into singing, which was something that changed the mood in the house.
Yes, that's such a
Yeah,
brilliant move. I've
yeah.
got the chat up so that I'll glance over every now and again. So if you guys have any suggestions or comments or questions for us throughout this our time together here, please add it to the chat and we will address it live. And if we see it after the fact, we will address it not live.
But we definitely do see those things in the chat. So please, please, please share your ideas. We do read those and we do look at them and incorporate those into this.
Yeah. So thanks for being here, everyone who is watching live and watching in the future. What we are doing here is just, like we said, carving out some space to have a little space of our own. Just ignore what's going on outside of the outside world, for now, just for a little bit. We don't want to, like completely ignore what's going on in the world. I know today, so I was telling Molly right before we hopped on, I had spent far too much time doom scrolling and paying a little bit too much attention to the news, going down a few too many rabbit holes, which I know better. However, yeah, and I've also spent a few too many nights staying up a little bit too late doing the same thing, and so it's catching up with me. And plus, not to mention, we've all got like our personal things going on in the world as well. I'm sorry, our personal things going on in our lives aside from what's going on in the world. So, Yeah, so these are some heavy times right now, but we're carving out this space to shut it out for just a minute, give ourselves a little bit of a recharge, a little bit of a reset.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about that, if you do find yourself also doom scrolling, or you do find yourself getting really wrapped up in, you know, hair on fire type of mentality, first of all, I just want you to know, we want you to know that that's normal. That is how humans are wired. There is absolutely that fear that is like in our DNA. It was kind of part of the monkey brain or the lizard brain that really is something that is hardwired into all of us as humans. So if that's where you feel, or that's where you are at the same time, and you know the dog drinking coffee in the room that's on fire, uh,
This is fine.
this is fine, right? This you're totally normal. So don't beat yourself up. But what we would like to do with this hour is again to just, if you want, I'd like to just have maybe just a little bit of a reset. One of the things that Christine and I do through FutureU and through the collabs itself is to really carve out again that digital online space where people can just realign, recenter, restore, because you're not going to be able to fix anything or serve anyone's needs, including your own, if you're not centered. So we're going to start out just briefly with a little thing that I want you to do. If you're watching this, listening to this, just take a second to put down what you're doing and just focus on you for the next couple seconds, maybe 15 seconds. We're just going to do a quick check in. So if you'd like to close your eyes, you're certainly welcome to do so. Some people do, some people don't. If you do want to keep your eyes open, I recommend doing what's called a soft focus. So like pick a light that's on, or a candle, or just something where you're doing that 1,000-yard stare where you're not really focusing on anything per se, because you're actually going to be relaxing your eyeball muscles is what we're going to be doing here. Because there's nothing, the only thing that holds your eyeballs in place are muscles, right? So if you're intent, we want them to just relax for a second. So, all right, we're going to also now, what we're going to do, you've picked your spot or you've closed your eyes. All right, now I want you to breathe in and exhale. So when you breathe in, you're going to want to make sure that you're filling your stomach. You're going to be like pouring oxygen down your throat into your stomach as if it's a flask. So and then when you exhale, I want you to blow that out as if you're blowing out a candle across the room. So we're going to do one more deep inhale. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Okay. Now that you've got that done, we've just put a whole bunch of oxygen into your cells, and I would like for you to just think to yourself. We're going to say a couple things. 1, I am here. I am ready. I am open. Okay. That's all we're going to do, because we don't want to go too far. But what you've just done is you've literally told yourself you're here, you're ready, and you're open. You have told your subconscious that you've chosen to be here for a reason. And intention is something that really, 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 really influences the outcomes of anything that you do: work, life, kids, job, whatever. So your intention is an extremely, extremely powerful tool. So, ta-da!
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah,
I feel better already.
yeah,
Thank you. And I love the old, what is it? The old phrase where attention goes, energy flows.
it's true.
I mean, there's a few different versions. There's like where attention goes, money flows, but
Hmm.
money is energy anyways. So it's all the
Correct,
same,
correct.
all the same. But thank you. Oh my God, I truly I do feel a lot better. Thank you. I did need that
Yeah,
reset. I
yeah,
felt like I had the ick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And shrugging your shoulders is another great way to just release some of that tension that people hold without even knowing about it, because we just normally do. It has to go somewhere, right? And we tend to um, hold our tension in our shoulders or our jaws, another popular one. So periodically throughout the day, just
Yeah.
do
Unclench
that,
the
or
jaw.
yeah, kind of shake it
Take
out.
your tongue away from the top of the roof of your mouth.
Yeah.
I love the shoulder shrugging. That's you can feel the blood rushing into your fingertips when you do that. So I do that when I'm cold outside when I'm walking the dog. Every now
Mm-hmm.
and then if he's like getting his gossip, doing his sniffs, I'll just be like, "Ooh, okay," because he'll stay out forever. I don't like the cold, so that's
Me too.
how I cope with his incessant need for WALKs. Can't say the word, otherwise he'll pop up over the couch here. Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you so much, Molly, for that. That was great. Um, yeah, should we get into the Magic Hat? Should we see what the Magic Hat has in store for us?
Yeah, so before I pull something out of here, if you were here last week, I used a bike helmet, but I chose an actual hat this week. These are just things that we wrote down that are based on questions our clients ask us or things that we have that are just general self-care. You're also welcome to just email hello@meetfutureu.com and with your topics, just put Magic Hat in the subject line and just something you want to chit chat about or whatever. And we'll pop it into the hat. So these are like just they're I don't know if you can really see them, but they're like just these pieces of paper. So I have no idea what's going to come out of here.
Yeah, and they're topics related to mindset, business,
Yep,
self-care, relationships, and honestly, anything that you want to talk about, mindset stuff. Oh, whoop. Ah,
I have picked
okay.
something. Dun 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 dun. Oh, all right. So this one is actually a coaching question that I know I've heard at least twice in my entire life, probably more. It says, I don't know if you can see it.
No.
No, you really can't because of the, what do you call it?
Yeah, the background blur. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh well. This is when we get higher end setup. I'll type it out.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All across the bottom. And this one says how to turn your weaknesses into strengths.
How
How
to
to
turn.
turn your weaknesses into strengths. This one will be interesting. Now, this is all unscripted. We have no idea what this would have said. So,
Yeah, I literally have no idea what Molly has written in these on these little slips of paper and put
yeah,
in, which makes this so fun and scary
yeah.
a little bit. But you know what, Molly? I have a question. Um, I hope you don't think I'm being a dick for asking this question. I apologize in advance because I don't mean it in that way. But like I think that's such a fantastic topic because I've been doing some thinking about this on and off, like it's like for the past couple years, where it's like I feel like um all throughout like high school, college, early career, all of that, where especially when you're interviewing, you're like, one of the interview questions you hear is like, well, tell me what your weaknesses are, right? And you're supposed to be honest, and you're not supposed to be like, I'm a perfectionist. Like, okay, um, sure. Um, so I've been thinking on that aspect of it again, like I said, on and off. I've not like belabored it too much, but like, do we want to do we want to strengthen our weaknesses? Like, should we should we play into our strengths more and just accept that we have weaknesses um and let them be our weaknesses and rely on partners. Like, I mean, like how we started this off at the very beginning. Like, I'm a business coach. I deal with marketing and, putting together strategies and that sort of stuff. You're a life coach, and we complement each other so well because of that difference, right? And our brains, while we have so much overlap, and sometimes I think we share a brain, and I think we're at the point now where we're finishing each other's sentences. I don't know if we're actually there yet, but I know we're getting close. Um, yeah, like I don't, dude, I'm gonna stop. That's a lot of words, but like that's the first thing that came uh to my mind. I don't know. Molly, what do you think about all of that?
So I think that you make a lot of good points. I think that first of all, um, we've covered a little bit about where energy goes, where focus goes, energy flows, or whatever. And so sometimes I feel as if sometimes people do focus on their weaknesses and spending time strengthening them to the detriment of the strengths they already have.
Ah,
And also expanding their weaknesses by it's okay. So this is a Star Trek reference. I don't know if you're familiar with The Next Generation. Did you ever watch that one?
I've seen bits and pieces.
Okay. So there's this one
It'd be such a
episode.
disappointment.
That's okay. No, 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 no. There's this one, and it's with
It's one of my weaknesses. Is
no, no, there you go.
TV and movies is a
I
weakness
ca-
of mine.
I can't remember the name of it. So if I start talking and you know the name of it, definitely pop it in the chat. But it's the one with time travel, and there's three different versions of Picard, and it's like it's something about something it cues in it too. It's I think it's like a finale, but it's basically they come across this anomaly in space, and they send a tachyon beam, which is basically like a fact finding thing. Well, this beam gets sent from different time zones, the three different times, and it magnifies it. And so it ends up that Picard realizes that he himself is making this thing expand, and the thing that's expanding threatens to undo humanity's ever existing. And so my point, she said finally, is that again, when we focus on our weaknesses, I think that they can sometimes be expanded. I think that, however, it is important to know what your weaknesses are simply because you do have the opportunity to either A, get them a little bit stronger. You know, if you notice that one of your weaknesses, you really don't, you're not aware of time, and you find yourself being late a lot of times, or missing out on opportunities, or hurting other people because you don't show up on time, and that throws the world into a tailspin. That could be an opportunity for you to say, you know what, I think, especially in specific institutes, in instinct or instances, it's really helpful for me to work on that because I know that I have a propensity to be late. I don't want to hurt my mom. I don't want to be, disrespectful of my colleagues. So I know that's a weakness. I will take steps to circumvent that. I will put alerts in my phone, or I will figure out a way to buttress that weakness. But to sit there and go, how in the world can I be on time all the time? How can I do it? How can I do it? I think that tends to, again, shift energy away from, when I do make it to the meeting. One of my strengths is I'm really great at hearing other people's points of view and synthesizing large amounts of information for the entire group and presenting it in a way that everyone understands what we're talking about. Nobody else around the table can do that. So, I mean, if you're focusing on I'm late all the time, you might not be so, you know, effective when you do show up because you're focusing on your weaknesses and not your strengths. So I think you're absolutely on target on that one, Christine. I think it's good to be aware of the things that you don't do well so that you can seek out other people who do those things well without effort.
Yeah, and we're all not good at everything, right? Like it'd be to our detriment if we were, right? Like how boring would we all be if we were the same? Um, I want to touch on something that you had mentioned, talking about like turning that focus into something constructive, if I'm paraphrasing, where it's not like I'm not obsessing over like this is my weakness. This is now my identity is like because even though you're maybe not going that far and you're probably not intentionally being like, or well, sometimes like people are very much like, I'm a procrastinator. And it's almost like a badge that they maybe not necessarily a badge of honor, but like it's just something that like you've accepted as part of your identity. I know I have for a long time. It's something I've been trying to that I have been undoing in my brain. You the more you say that I am blah blah blah, the more you're digging in and making deep and deepening those neural pathways. And so you're making it harder for yourself to change that pattern. So I love what you mentioned about focusing on the action and the steps that you can take to strengthen whatever weakness. In your example, you were saying being late. So maybe it's set a reminder in your calendar or on your phone ahead, like, an hour ahead of time of like, maybe start thinking about getting ready. Maybe, in the morning you have an appointment, let's say at 2 p.m. Set a calendar reminder at, 8 o'clock to or whatever time you get up, or you actually start your day. to look at Google Maps and see what the route time is going to look like at the time you need to arrive. Not for 8 in the morning. Traffic and travel could be vastly different between 8 in the morning and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So, yeah. So, like, what are those? I loved your suggestion for like mapping out what are the steps that you need to take.
Well, so I liked what you said about the mapping portions of it. So I wanted to kind of go a little bit deeper into that, but I also wanted to focus on something that has to do with I love identifying the why. The why is such an important part of any behavioral change or adaptation or whatever. So I mean, I'm going to go back to the being late thing. And so for me, saying, oh, when I'm late, I am either A, missing out on job opportunities or promotions, or I know that I'm hurting my mother's feelings when I'm not there on time. I have made a choice that my being on time at work or not hurting my mother's feelings is more important to me than farting around at home and taking time, that 15 minutes that turns into 45 minutes late by the time it extrapolates and you get someplace late. That's worth being kind and respectful to the other person is more important to me. That is the why I've chosen. That's more important than a leisurely getting my hair done or whatever the heck it is that's I'm farting around with something. And the other thing that I liked that you had to say has reminded me of when I used to live in Iowa and I would come up to Chicago for business. I worked at an advertising agency and my clients were in clean tech and biofuels. And so I would train in to Chicago. And to your point, trying to get into the city between 8 and 10 is just good luck with that. And so I just physically knew that I would only schedule specific times between X hour and X hour when I knew that that's when timeliness was paramount. Waking up in the hotel and taking a nice leisurely shower or walking around downtown or whatever while my clients were probably on the, Dan Kennedy or the Dan Ryan, sorry, big difference. But then
we can make a new expressway, the Dan
the Dan
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Like, take
But
the
I
best
mean,
of both of them and
there
leave
you
the
go.
rest.
No, that's right. But I mean, for me, that, at 9 o'clock, I could totally be late. I didn't have to worry about it. I could wander around as much as I wanted. But when go time came, I knew that I had a window of time that's when I focused on timeliness. I know we keep hammering on this, but that would be for me an identifying weakness and wanting it to be a strength and having your cake and eating it too. Really, you can goof off whenever you want, but when you need to be,
Yeah. Well,
very good.
I mean, personally, I like that we're using the timeliness factor because one, I think we can all relate to it to a certain degree, whether you're, you know, an hour early to everything or not, like you still know the process of being
Yeah,
on time.
yeah,
And if you're someone that's chronically late, you know the process of not being on time. So there's another interesting thing that I know that I had to um, address. Well, first of all, recognize, and two, then address is that just because I got there in 15 minutes once
oh right,
does not mean like that should be the default. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna take 15 minutes. And like, because sometimes it takes twice that, if not like there and being an imaginary place. Um, I don't know. I don't know if that's neurospiciness. I don't know if that's just how our brains work in general and like everyone does that or whatnot. But I did notice that that's what I do. And I had to like consciously realize I'm like, God, I'm late because I'm going to like the not lowest common denominator is not the right phrase, but like I'm taking the fastest time. I'm
yeah,
using it as my default.
yeah. I worked in sales for a while, and so I call it getting lost time. I finally would just build in
Yeah.
getting lost time. And if I happen to get there 15 minutes early, awesome. Then I could open up my day planner and I could look over what I wanted to talk about for that meeting. Or if I knew that meeting was in the can and it was no big hairy deal, I would look ahead to the rest of my schedule for the day and think, okay, these are definitely things that I want to do. And so, I mean, I just built in getting lost time into that. And when you live in the city, To your point, there's sometimes when the CTA is running like a dream, and there's other times where you're like, why am I taking 8 years to get here? Because
Why is this
what's
train
going on?
stopped at this station and the doors are still open?
Yep, yep. And you're like, whoa.
No, yeah, exactly. Um,
So yeah,
yeah, it happened to me before. I love that getting lost time. That is actually one of the things that I did start doing is that like it's better to get there early. The city make this Chicago really does make it easy to get early to like find something to do with your time if you are early. You can just walk around
yeah,
the park, right? Like if
yeah.
you're out in, the country somewhere, maybe it's not as easy. Or maybe I'm just not
Bring a
familiar with
book.
what you do. But yeah, right, bring a book. We've all got phones, right? And like there's still cell signal, I would hope. And if there isn't, then yeah, there's actual books. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, okay, going back to how to convert a weakness into a strength. One of the things that I do love is using audiobooks because, again, in another life, I did have a commute when I still owned a car, and I would listen to books on the way into. I had like a 30-minute ride on the interstate, and so using that time was so helpful to me in terms of whether there was a skill I wanted to learn or something that I wanted to, dig deeper on a specific topic or research or whatever. Audiobooks were just amazing.
I love audiobooks. I'm so much better at I read so much more because of audiobooks. If I need to sit down and actually like crack o open a book, I'm gonna fall asleep. I don't know if that's left over from just me having not enjoyed studying. Like I always got good grades, but just the whole idea of studying was just laborious and daunting. So and reading makes me fall asleep. So I don't get through many books physically, but um, I do love the audiobooks. It makes it so much easier. And I think I know people will disagree with this, but I retain it better that way. So
One of my favorite audiobooks was The Screwtape Letters that was read by John Cleese.
what is it called?
The Screwtape Letters, and
Through
it's
tape
a
letters?
yeah, Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis, and this particular it's a novel that is Wormwood, and Screwtape is a junior demon in hell, and he's been tasked with recruitment basically, and it's a great book. But if you want to go out, it's on YouTube, and there's like I think 3 or 4 different videos where you can hear the entire book. There's like part one, blah 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 blah. But John Cleese, it's a perfect narration. His voice is perfect for the subject matter,
I
and
can
I think
totally
that
see that.
that's yeah, and I think that that's one of the cool things about audiobooks is that you do, I think, retain it in a different way, especially if the narration is well done and really helps with the subject matter, and it does sink in. Because the other thing is when I was a kid, we had one of our third grade teachers would read aloud to us in class, and so I love when someone reads to me. It's just awesome. You just sit there. So
That's great. Sorry, I got down John Cleese is 85 years old right now.
oh, wow. So A Fish Called Wanda is one of my favorite movies that he was in. I know there's probably some kids out there, and when I say kids, I mean probably 30-year-olds because my kids are in their 30s. But if those folks probably know him as Nearly Headless Nick, when in
Right.
fact from he's like Nearly Headless Nick in Harry Potter. The Huffle.
Oh, that's
He's
why
the
I don't.
He's the Gryffindor ghost. But I know him from Monty Python from when I was a
Oh
kid
yeah.
in the 70s and the Department of Silly Walks. So
Oh
yes.
my God. Yeah, I'm a muggle, so anything Harry Potter. I'm surprised
Oh.
I don't know what a muggle is. That's as much as I know. So that's all lost on me. But yeah, Pink Panther. I have the song in my head now. Is how I know him. But yeah, that's great. Let's see. So okay, how else to focus on your weaknesses or to strengthen your weaknesses? Well, when I think just being able to acknowledge that you have not to acknowledge that you have weaknesses, although that is a strength in and of itself. Some of our fellow humans can't even do that. So being able to, acknowledge your blind spots, which aren't necessarily weaknesses. Those are different, I think. But yeah, and then being able to be proactive and actually try to work on them. At least to the point that I think there's different kinds of weaknesses. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit of like there's like the weaknesses of like skill set. There's weaknesses of like behavior, like we were talking about timeliness, like that affects and impacts your fellow humans. Um, but like the skill set ones, I think is one we haven't really talked about. Drawing and painting comes to mind. Like a lot of people feel like they can't draw or like can't paint, but like as someone who went to art school, like I believe everyone can. Like, of course, to different varying degrees, but like if it's something you enjoy and something that you want to pursue and get better at it, you can. You just have to actually do it. And even people who are like got, naturally gifted and it's a God-given talent, this is a tangent. We won't get into that, but that pisses me off. I hate that phrase. Anyways, like, because it's a skill that you have to work at, like anything else. You just might be more naturally interested in it, so you continue to do it more. There's those kinds of weaknesses where it's a skill. Molly, what's another skill that comes to mind for you?
Well, I actually would like to talk a little bit more about drawing,
Oh, okay, great.
because I have a little brain health hack that I would like to share. That is a great way to help with neuroplasticity, which is, I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you. But
Love it. I love.
when I went back to college, I have a journalism degree and a fine arts degree. So when I went back to
I
school,
didn't know that about the fine arts degree. Have we talked
yeah,
about that? I feel like we've talked
probably
about
not.
that.
But I was a working artist for a while, and I worked in oils painting, but
One
part
of
of
my
the,
weaknesses.
but the thing is that, well, I'll get to that in a second. So one of the things that we were required to do as part of our curriculum is we had our painting classes, which were in line with our major, but we were also required to take electives that were still in the art school, but were not directly related to painting. And one of them was ceramics that I took. I also did metalworking, which I totally suck at metalworking. It's actually really fun, but
I was gonna say it sounds fun. I've never done it.
it's super fun, but metal is extremely, if you'll pardon the pun, mercurial. The
Mhm.
annealing point is really interesting, and you can totally ruin a piece because there's a very teeny tiny micro fractured second when the metal is workable. And if you miss that, you can totally ruin a piece or whatever. But back to the drawing aspect of it is that one of our classes, we did a lot of figure drawing and a lot of just observation and that kind of thing. That had to do with the human form and still life and blah blah blah. And I'll never forget, one of our exercises had to do with drawing something upside down.
Oh, we have talked about this. You've told me about this. I love this story.
And you had to look at something and then draw it upside down, and you will find, regardless of who you are, more often than not your upside down version is more authentic and accurate to the original, because you are drawing what you actually see as opposed to what you think you see. And it's just a really great way of, again, focusing your intention, helping with, your brain changes when you are focusing on something like that. And also, again, when you draw something or paint something right side up, a lot of the times our brains will put what we think is there as opposed to what's actually there. And so, even if you're not a good artist per se, I think everyone can benefit from doing things like doodling or sketching, because those are ways, again, to help with neuroplasticity and synaptic um, cognition that's going on in your brain. So that's a really good brain health
I
tip.
love that so much. And one of my other um, favorite exercises similarly is looking at the negative space. So
Oh
instead
yeah.
of drawing, this was like life drawing class in the first school I went to. Um, looking at, if you have a bunch of vases, vases, uh, on the little stage, looking at the spaces in between the handles, looking at the spaces in between the vases, and drawing that instead of, like you said, instead of drawing the thing, it's forcing your brain to really look at the space, and it does end up being more like oddly, uh, you know, maybe counterintuitively ends up being more accurate than because yes, like you said, our brains are meaning making machines, and so it will fill in gaps. That's why, oh, I love like optical illusions because our brains will fill in the gaps. So yes. So anyways, so yes. So I love that tangent. That's such a fantastic tangent. And thank you for sharing that story. I forgot
You're welcome.
we had talked about that. Not here, but amongst ourselves. So thank you
Yeah,
for
no.
bringing that to the people.
Well, you're welcome. But I like what you just said about meaning making machines because our brains, something that I've been working on with the vagus nerve and polyvagal theory is something that oh, sidebar.
Love it.
If I'm going to do a little promo for us real quick. One of the things that we wrote about in our most recent newsletter was what we're reading right now, and we talked about the energy zones, no,
Oh,
energy codes. The energy codes was in that particular newsletter, but um, is that in our comments? How to get updates?
no, but it will be momentarily.
Yeah. So basically, plus it's also out on our Meet Future You page. But anyway, just like there's a newsletter on the drop down nav on the top that you're welcome to. It's free, but we talk about what we're reading, and the energy codes is the one we were working on. But I have just started, and I don't know if this will be in the next issue or not, but this polyvagal theory that I've been working on or reading about has to do with our vagus nerve and how much that um, the ratio of input to the difference between our nervous system, which is always on, and how much our brain processes. And there's like the difference between 660 bits per minute, that's a nervous system, to like 6,000 bits per second, which is your brain. So when you look at the amount of input, um, our brain is actually the servant to your nervous system because your nervous system is like sending up thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of inputs, and your brain is tasked with picking out which ones it's going to pay attention to. And those things that your brain is picking up and paying attention to are based in part on all sorts of stuff that we're walking around with that may or may not be our thoughts. And by that, I mean, there's probably a lot of times that you, and when I say you, I mean the royal you might be, yeah, you might be basing your behavior on something that your mom or your dad told you when you were 7. Oh, good girls don't ask for seconds or whatever your script was. That's what your brain is saying to your nervous system and accepting as truth when in fact it might, that's not true necessarily. It's just a thing that your brain is using as a vetting mechanism. So those are some things I think about when just talk about tangents. You had mentioned about a the brain being now what was it? What,
Meaning making machine.
meaning making machine. So if you're using scripts that define meaning based on stuff that either A isn't true any longer or B wasn't true in the first place, it's not a bad idea to maybe take a look at what your definitions are and who defines you and what are those definitions still accurate or do they apply, and which is not even part of what this was.
I was gonna say, oh boy, we're gonna launch into another tangent about
we,
rules.
we we're the tangent queens. I think we should
Yeah,
make a t-shirt that says tangent queen with a little crown.
there you go. With on top of a tree with lots of branches, because Those are all of our offshoots. But anyways, just to close that loop, in case you're curious what a brule is, I won't
Oh
go into
yeah.
this. A brule is a bullshit rule given to you by society or your family that you didn't ask for. So, but to make it to underline and underscore what Molly was just talking about is these stories that we are either told as children as we're growing up or throughout school and, first or secondary school and our jobs could come from anywhere, TV, whatever, media. Uh, and we somehow glom onto it and make it part of our identity or make it a belief if it's not a part of our identity and we don't and then we stop questioning it and it's just like, well, this is just the way the world is, and that's not necessarily true. So it's really important, and this it does tie in, I think dovetails really well with weaknesses, is because sometimes those are just stories that we have told ourselves, like again to go back to the drawing thing, because I can't, or when people, not necessarily drawing, more so creativity, so many adults think they're not creative when you're creating bullshit in your brain every day. You're creating worst case scenarios, and giving yourself anxiety. That's highly creative. If you couldn't do those things, you wouldn't be creative, but we can, and we do. So, anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox on that, but yeah, I think that's where all the tangents kind of come together of like this idea of weaknesses. Um, yes, a weakness says who? Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to get so esoteric to where like maybe your weakness is your strength. Um, Recognizing what your weaknesses are is a strength. I think so. I think. Because like I said, a lot of people can't. Narcissists don't know what their weaknesses are.
So, well, one of the things about weakness and is that um, I'm going to go back to drawing because it's something we've been talking about. Um, you don't necessarily have to be what you consider good at drawing if it's something that you actually like to do, by the way, as well. You know, if you like to
Fantastic point.
draw, if you like to draw and you think that you're a crappy drawer, but you love doing it, then who gives a rat's patoot if you're a good drawer or not? Just
Yeah,
go get those
good
pencils and
according to who?
exactly have fun. And we talked about this, I think one of the problems of this is that I never know if we've already talked about it or if we've talked about it someplace else. But one of the things that gets people so hung up is again going back to family scripts in terms of, oh well, you got, let's say that there's three kids, and she's the smart one, he's the athletic one, he's the whatever, and it's like, uh, again, says who, and for whose comfort, you know? And it just that's one of the things I know that my poor kids, I'm sure that I've given them some therapy sessions already,
I
but
don't think you can be a parent without, I think that's part of your job, right?
and you do the best you can, but I do know that one of the things that I absolutely did not do was I never compared or labeled my children because that's just not fair,
Yeah.
you know? And so if you're out there thinking that your weakness is that you're um, a bad sousaphone player and you would love to play the sousaphone, go play the sousaphone, you know? Because who gives your mom might have said you're a terrible sousaphone player because she wanted to take a nap at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she sure as hell didn't want to have some kid blasting in the next room. So your weakness might be for the convenience of someone else. So just take that to heart. Who's
I love that.
defining what, and for what reason? And not to say that everyone's out to get you or blah, 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 but just question some things and get back down to that why. Why is this important to me? Why is this something that is a weakness? And is it something that I would love to develop more? And if it's not, whatever. I mean, just it's an invitation for some exploration.
Yeah, and it's all okay. Like you said, if you suck at drawing, but you enjoy doing it, just keep doing it. Eventually you won't quote unquote suck anymore, right? Like again, it's so subjective, but also like we all suck at something the first time we do. I've never done metallurgy, right? Like I've never done any sort of metal work or anything like that. Like would probably suck. Like, I would probably not be good at it. Because I won't know what I'm doing yet, right? Oh gosh, this is there's oh, I can't remember where I first heard this, but there's that like chasm. It's like this is
Oh,
not what it's called, but it's like a chasm of khaki oh my gosh, where you get cocky about like what you know. Yeah.
oh, I thought you were going to talk about the cringe thing, the cringe valley.
Oh, that yeah, we can
I
talk
thought,
about that too.
I thought,
But there's like before we get into that, there's the um like you suck at something and then you become a little bit good at it. And then at that point, like before you become like an actual expert at it, you think you're better at it than you actually are, and you get a little over your skis about it. And you get a little bit sassy. Until then you realize you're like, oh, I understand how much about this I don't know anymore, like or at that point, and then you don't act cocky about it anymore. And then you become an actual like maybe not expert level, but you become very extremely proficient at it at the very least. So, anyways, that I can't remember what that's called, but there's like this arc. So yes, so the well, I forget what the cringe thing is now. I mean, I can picture the illustration, but I forget what it's called.
I think the cringe, the valley of cringe is basically putting yourself out there, which doesn't necessarily have to do with the strength and weakness conversation, although maybe it does.
Yeah,
I
I was
mean,
gonna say I can
because
see how that relates.
if you do want to develop a weakness, you're going to go into some valley of cringe where you're going to make your mistakes out loud.
Look, dude,
And
we're doing it right now.
and that was, yeah, pretty much, yeah. So it's just and that takes a certain amount of confidence in your own um capabilities, but also it's there's a comfort with what's the worst thing that can happen. Are they,
Exactly.
someone going to come and drag me off to a gulag for being terrible at giving, talking about live stuff?
Right.
Probably not.
No, I don't have a
Maybe.
hook. Do you have a hook? The
No,
dog
I
doesn't
don't.
have a hook. He's not gonna. All of his toys are right here.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's fantastic. I got it. I have to say, I love this Magic Hat segment. Just because I get a little nervous before this because I'm like, oh my God, what if there's something in there that I don't know much about or that I can't really like pontificate upon or um have no thoughts about. But this is only our second episode, but uh I think we're doing okay.
Well, I think that it's cool to have the spontaneity aspect of it
Yes.
because one of the things that this the Empower Hour we wanted it to serve as again a spot of calm in your day. For 1 hour you can at least talk about goofy stuff or whatever and just chill and also get these conversations going with different people who have similar interests. Um, but it's also something that we wanted to show people this is how Christine and I work together and work in service to our clients in terms of listening to them and finding out where they're coming from and how they're going to get there and how can we again serve their needs and to make sure that we are helping them grow and into their own highest self and reaching their goals. So I think that in addition to being again an hour of drinking a glass of wine or some tea or whatever it is that you're drinking in your time zone, and chilling out with some people.
Wine, so classy.
Sweet, dude, I am all for it.
Costco
Um,
boxed wine at its
the-
best.
Costco is like I like Costco for so many reasons.
Me too. I mean, listen,
So
it's just table wine. It's
yeah,
great. Just a
yeah. But it's also again, we just wanted to let people know out there that Christine and I are this is who we are, and it's also just we actually like people. We like working with people. We like, yeah, it's like, and I'm sure that if you're out there, I know everyone who's watching this at some point has probably been in a situation where they're maybe a customer service representative or a waitress or a server or whatever, and that they hate people. Why are you working with people if you don't like people? that you don't have to work with people. There are other jobs. You can do something else. But it's like, so I guess that's why I said it, is that, we actually really care about the people that we work with. And it makes me happy to help them and whatever. So I'm kind of rambling again, but that's
I love it.
part of why we're here as well, because we want you to understand who we are and how we work. And I think the rambling of the hat exercise is a really good example of seeing the depth of what someone's bringing to a table, so to speak.
I think,
We have,
that's a, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's a I love that because I'm a big fan of showing, not telling. And that's why I think this format works well for a lot of people, but I think specifically for us. I also think as much as I love writing, I think you and I both shine much better over video than and you can see our personalities much more clearly and true for most people versus, a LinkedIn post where it's mostly text and maybe not a video. Although I know you can do video in there too. I just posted something there last night that was video. But yes, I also think that it shows, like, even like personally, it makes it more clear to me, like, just how many tools I have in my tool belt for people that that I will admit, like, I get in my head about, like, I'm not a mom, I'm a dog mom. It's not the same. I get in my head, so I haven't had that experience. Uh, I often say I went to art school, so I don't know a lot about, like, having gone away to college and having the, like, rush experience or the Greek system experience, right? Like, I wasn't in a sorority or any of that, right? Um, and so it's easy and there's, like, I can go on, but I won't bore you with my own the madness of my own brain. Um, save that for my therapist. Um, but yeah, again, going back to weaknesses, like, I can view those all as weaknesses. Or I can, like, examine them and be like, oh, okay, those are just stories that my brain is telling me. Like, well, all those things are true to a degree. I don't have to buy into them and make them part of my identity in a negative way. They can just be. So, I hope I tied that all back together to our main topic.
Oh, yeah, no, I think it's absolutely true in that, one of the things about growth, and that's part of what Future You is all about, is getting from where you are now and then figuring out that path and how you're going to get there. And I think one of the things that holds people in stasis is doubling down or entrenching those stories. Oh, I'm a bad artist, or oh, I'm always late, or whatever. And um, when you say something or write something that is true, but doesn't necessarily serve your development or evolution, then you are reinforcing it. So, one of the difficulties about affirmations, and especially when used as a growth tool, is that if there's too wide of a chasm between what you can see and what you aspire to be, your brain is going to call shenanigans, and it's going to go, you are full of it, Molly. I don't know what you're smoking or whatever, but you're no. And so that's where having these incremental things where you've got to have the statement of truth. Like the other day, I put something on Mastodon about one of the best ways to change your life without doing anything super hard is to put two things on your to-do list that you know that you can do. Doesn't matter how easy they are, but after you do them, you say to yourself, I keep my promises to myself. And again, it doesn't matter if one of the things you wrote on your list was brush my teeth. Well, duh, you're going to brush your teeth. Doesn't matter. What matters is that when you say to yourself, I keep my promises to myself, your brain goes, aha. And it starts to churn these gears in your subconscious in a way that's an affirmation. And it's also true. And so the more your brain can hear true statements, the more it can grow. So even if, like, let's say one of your statements is, I'm a millionaire, and you're not, if you say every day I pay attention to my financial choices so that they can become my highest self or whatever the heck you want to do. If you do those things, that's again an affirmation that's based in fact that will eventually become that which you aspire to be. So, anyway, I don't think that was really part of our weakness, unless you want to change a weakness into a strength, and you can just put it into a form that is truthful statement that leads to someplace. Anyway,
Oh yeah, I thought that was highly relevant
okay,
to
cool.
the weakness part. I mean, because like I think affirmations are a great example of that. Like if you want to work on something that is a weakness, you can use affirmations. But like you said, a lot of people start out with like the big end goal. I want to be the millionaire, right? I want the house on the mountain or a house on the lake, right? Like, okay, well, like you maybe right now you're living in a studio and like, there's a large gap there, right? And so there your brain's gonna call bullshit on it, like you said. And so being like, okay, maybe that is still the goal, but the affirmation is that I keep my promises. Which like honestly, like that's something that I've actually just lived through most recently with I've been doing a ton of yoga and I have been accused of having workout ADHD in the past because I would my running friends used to tease me for this all the time. It was so true. I would do something like whole hog for like 2 weeks and then just drop it like a bad habit, right? Like and then just like I'm like super into like CrossFit was one thing. I did it more than 2 weeks, but not too much longer. Maybe like a month, maybe or 6 weeks or something. I think I did a 6 week program and then just promptly like stopped going. Um but like with yoga, I made a promise to myself that if I sign up for a class, I'm not canceling. So now I do wait at least like 24 hours before I sign up for a class because I don't want to cancel. So I'm like I can wait a little bit. I can like not necessarily need to have it. I have it on my calendar, but I use a color coding system. It's light green if I haven't signed up for it. It's dark green. It's something I have registered for. And that has helped so much. And it's reinforced in me that I am a person that doesn't cancel. And I am a person that like makes it to the class. I am the person that does what she says she's going to do. And so that is a real life in the moment thing I am living as an example of what you were just talking about. So I hope that that's helpful for somebody to internalize it and to make that real and not just hear the words, but to like feel how it can apply for them. And it doesn't have to be working out. It could be anything. And if you have a specific thing you want to change, goal, get to, or whatever, and you're like, I don't know how to turn it into the process that you just explained because it's not yoga, ask us, email us, write a comment, message us. Hello@meetfutureu.com is the email. It goes to both Molly and I. We will both
And
see. So yeah, ask us your questions.
yeah, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. And the Meet Future You collab also has there's the contact us feature on that too, isn't there? Or is the emails at the bottom, isn't it? Or you can have,
Yeah, and it's in the emails in the footer. Yeah, so
yeah.
if you go to I'll put it in the chat right now, but if you go to meetfutureu.com/collab, COLAB, um, it will, the email's at the very bottom of the page. And while you're there,
I was gonna say,
sign up for our group program.
yeah.
Tell your friends.
So while we're talking about the collab, why don't we? Can you? We've got what's coming up.
Oh, so yeah, actually, so next week, so if you're catching this, we're recording this on the February the 4th of 2025. If you are catching this before February 26th, we are going to have Ed Kaplan, who is the founder of LLM Liaison. And what Ed does is he specializes in demystifying AI so that he can show you how to automate tasks, increase productivity, and reduce cognitive overload, which I absolutely love that. So you don't even need to have a technical background. So he's going to be our guest expert speaker for February. Like I said, February I might have said January. February 26th. It's going to be at I think we have him at 1 in the afternoon that day. I will double check that. But if you sign up for our emails, it will be in our emails. So it's going to be on February 26th, Central Time. Um, and he's great. He's also a sponsor, so it's been fantastic to partner with him for collab. It's just been great because we had you'll see this on social media as well. We had an amazing conversation with him just a couple weeks ago about AI, generative AI and large language models specifically, and how people can um, incorporate them into your business, into your corporation, into your daily life. Um, things to be, how to quell some fears around AI, some things that we probably should be actually like accurately afraid of. Um, but yes, it's gonna be, I'm really looking forward to what he talks to us about in the group program.
So one of the couple things I wanted to mention about Ed specifically is he focuses, in addition to some of the other stuff that Christina's mentioned, he also has a social work background and he also has ADHD. So he talks about how, going back to the hat topic, actually, in terms of weaknesses, if you happen to know that focus is one of your weaknesses, he can teach you how to have AI absorb some of that for you and help that buttress those weaknesses and stuff like that. So again, I really love that he has that self-care aspect to it, as it in addition to, again, I loved how you said demystifying, because sometimes you can just, your eyes glaze over when you hear LLM, and I don't know, is it Skynet? Are we going to die? No, it's not. It's no. Just slow your roll there, Mabel, and just come listen to. Sorry, sorry. Mabel and Gladys are two of the words that I always have for people who are like panicking about something.
I
But
love
and
it.
my
I'm wondering, like, now I want to look up and see if like those are names that are making a comeback, because I've seen a couple people over the socials over the past couple years being like, tell me what your grandmother's names were. First names. They're not trying to like fish for your grandmother's maiden name, but because they actually want to name their children something like Betty.
Opal, yeah, yeah. Those hipsters are wacky. Sorry. I like hipsters. One of my kids a hipster. God bless her. Anyway, okay.
What is a hipster these days,
I
Molly?
don't I don't think hipsters exist anymore. I think that hipsters were hipsters 5 years ago. I think they've morphed into something else. I don't know.
I don't keep track.
I
I think I'm too old now.
I'm too old. Yeah, I'm gonna
I
say
don't.
I'm normcore. I'm
Yeah,
like,
the same. I'm like, I don't care.
yep, yep.
Which I think is part of my growth in general, is I think the fewer F's you give and the more you focus on what matters to you, it's okay to have some blinders on. Not too many. You still have to be part of the world, but you just have to be okay with not caring about certain things after a while. Anyways, Molly, you were saying
Oh
LLM,
no, no, no,
AI.
nothing really. It just oh my gosh, it's 7:03.
Oh my goodness, look at us.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, if they want to
Well,
leave,
no, yeah, yeah, no, stick around. We're having a great time.
I was gonna say, don't shoo them away. I've had like 3 sips of this wine.
That's okay. I have had no wine, and I think I'm due for some sips of wine.
I think you are too.
Um, but next week we're going to do this all over again with some different stuff. The cool thing about going live is that we really never know what's going to happen, which I kind of like.
I do too.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Well, thank you all for joining us. Molly, anything else you want to say before we close out?
Don't forget to breathe, pay attention to your shoulders, drink your water, and if it ever gets to be too much, don't doom scroll, put the phone down and go watch something that makes you laugh, or hug your kid, or pet your dog, or just, because joy is really awesome for self-care. It's just so vital in a world where, I'll use my movie trailer voice, but yes, seriously, in a world that seems to be going sideways all of the time, just find your footing and it's important that you're still here, and we will love to see you next week. And yeah, that's all I got. I really nothing really too exciting except for just I'm so glad that everything worked out today, and we're here, and we're
Yeah,
looking forward to seeing you next week.
same. I will say that something that came to me while I was doom scrolling earlier today. I got to a point where it was just like, oh my God, enough. Um, I don't know what it was, but I suddenly found this like strange sense of peace. Um, to where it was like, I can't care about this too much. Like I can't care about this anymore. Like I can, but like I can only to the point where I can only affect so much as an individual citizen. Um, and I am placing my trust in the people who are lawyers, who are, this, that, and the other thing, who are experts in their field. I'm going to focus on my strengths and focus on the things that I can do to help. I can call my congressman. I can do those things, right? I can donate. I can, all of those things. I'm trying not to make this too political. Um,
No, but
But at the time, this is what the world that we live in, right? Again, I don't want to completely ignore and like sweep things under the rug. However, bringing it back to our topic, our magic hat topic is, I am going to focus on my strengths. I am going to pay as much attention to the news as my nervous system will allow, and without short circuiting myself, because I need to be available and able to serve the people I want to serve and to fulfill my mission and my, if you want to get into soul contracts of like why the heck I'm even on this planet, right? So like I need to focus on that. And I have to take care of a dog and keep a roof over my head and all of that. Take care of my mother. Um, all of those things. So if I can't take care of myself, and I'm saying this for everyone, if you can't take care of yourself, you're no good to anyone. So listen to Molly.
so
Do your breathing exercises.
yeah, so just to kind of not wrap up, but to build upon that is that, do what you can where you are with what you have.
Yes, thank you,
And
Arthur.
yeah, and never ever underestimate how much power there is in being kind. It sounds really woo-woo, but it's true woo. Is that kindness and love has a signature. And when you put that out into the space, it amplifies. And so just keep that in mind that when you feel as if you can't do anything, smile and just be kind to the next person you see. And that will have so much more power than you think. So just be kind to yourself as well.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a personal mission to leave every space I enter better than I found it, whether it's in real life or virtual like this. So, um, whether you have a personal mission like that or not. And if you don't, feel free to take that one. Because I think if, like to your point, Molly, that if we just pass on one positive thing, one act of kindness a day, like butterfly effect, right? Remember that? No one talks about that anymore. It's it'll create a ripple effect. But thank you everybody for being with us for as long as you were with us today. And thank you for if you're still here, thank you for joining us for this Empower Hour. I hope that we have lightened your load on this day a little bit, and I hope that you can bring a little bit of peace and a little bit of clarity with you forward to the rest